Okay, here's the scoop, right? I'm going to delete, actually I'm just going to create a new project and lose this one. New, what is this shit? I don't want to save it like that. Okay. New project, whatever. You don't really give a shit about this yet. So, okay. Right. You're going to want to think about this in a particular way. Because what is all this bullshit anyway? And what is all this bullshit anyway? Etc., etc. So I'm going to lay out how you want to think about this so that you can build shit. You're going to want a video track. This is right-click, insert video track or audio track. And all of these tracks, they look exactly the same. Just keep track of which are which. I like to keep all the audio tracks in one spot right on top of each other, and then the video tracks in one spot right on top of each other. So there's like 6 audio tracks and 7 video tracks, or vice versa, whatever. Right now we're just going to play with a video track. This, you can picture it as one long, go on and on and on and on, long piece of tape, just like transparent tape, like, box tape or whatever. And no matter how many pieces of transparent box tape you have on top of something in this arena, you're still not going to see anything, right? It's still black. It doesn't matter where your timeline is, where your marker is, it's still just nothing, because there's nothing on that piece of tape. When you drag in a video, like this, and this made an audio track here, which I'm going to delete, because I don't want it. Essentially, you've just pasted video to a piece of very long packaging tape, or very long, what is that not clear tape called? Not clear tape means not transparent tape. Scotch tape. I think of it as Scotch tape personally, just because it kind of looks like Scotch tape to me. Anyway, right. So think of every video track as big long piece of tape, and Scotch tape. The reason that's a good example is because it has an opacity. Scotch tape is 100% opaque, whereas box tape, like, see, this is box tape and this is Scotch tape. Box tape is 100% or 98% transparent, right? So, opaque, transparent. But regardless, you've got a big, long line of tape that stretches on into infinity. So, there's a video. Here's a video. Delete the audio track again. And they're just like one piece of opaque tape laying on top of another piece of opaque tape. Where if I'm playing from here, right, I only see the one piece of tape because it is physically on top of the other. It's important to remember, because you get too many layers here and it starts getting confusing and bullshitty. Now, when this piece of tape right here runs out, what's going to happen is you're just going to see the next piece of tape. This is a really, really important concept, because it helps you figure out how to visualize what you want to do here to get one piece of tape to merge into the next piece of tape seamlessly. Like, if you actually had 2 pieces of tape, one was pink and one was blue, on top of each other, though let's say the pink one's on top and you wanted the blue one to start showing up, you would start to tear on one side, and you would tear as you went along and went along and went along until it had torn the entire pink thing off and it was just blue. This is kind of what this is about. So I'm going to take this piece of tape and move it so that we're looking at nothing. So one piece of tape runs out here. Now there's nothing, and here's another piece of tape, right? So one piece, nothing, next piece. This piece of tape, I'm essentially tearing here. I'm tearing it to a transparency. That is what I call this, because I like it. Because I'm tearing it from one side of the piece of tape down to the other, and it fades out to 0. So currently, it'll fade out to 0 to be nothing. Here we go. Start ripping the tape. Tear, 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 tear. Oh, come on. Tear faster. This is fucking bullshit. I hate it. But the point is that it's tearing down to nothing, right? Whereas, I'm going to go back, and now that this has been illustrated, it's tearing down to nothing. I'm just going to fix this so it tears faster, right? And now I'm going to put this other piece of tape under it. Now what's going to happen is it's going to tear to the next thing under it. So this stretchy, or this stretch of video is going to tear down to the thing that's right underneath it, right? And of course, in the middle here, it looked a little funny because this is only this big, and there's something under it. Just picture it as layers of tape. There's a thin layer of tape on top of the thick layer of tape, right? So that's going to help you visualize stuff. Okay, so now that that's the case, there are a bunch of ways that this program can do this. Now, you can just tear it yourself, and I can, come over here and tear this one too, and have another one down here so that it goes 1, 2, 3. If we had 50 of these, we'd still only see the one on top if it's completely opaque and we haven't faded it out. So let's start to talk about really easy and simple stuff. Now, this piece of tape, if you imagine this as being tearing, right, you can have only half of this piece of tape showing, and you would just tear it down to 50% by grabbing the top and tearing it down. Now, this is going to look really ugly because, this isn't the point here, but you've torn the piece of tape down the center, and now you've got half of a piece of tape on top of a full piece of tape, right? So, tear it down all you want, or don't. But that's how you tear it down the center. At the end, notice, you can still tear the piece of tape. Sorry about that. You can still do this to it. Tear from top to bottom, but you're controlling from what you've now made as, top of tape. You've made this a little thin thing, and so there it is. So, right. Tearing the tape still works the same way, except you're starting from 50% opacity instead of 100% opacity. So 50%, and this will tear from 50% to 0. So that's the way to look at that, and that's all great. Put that back up here. This one's the same thing. You can have that happen or not, but right. The way to put video together, if you want to, is you can just make one layer, and then another layer, and then another layer, and then another layer, etc., because that is simple and makes easy sense. You can also go one layer, bottom layer, a layer on top, then back to the bottom, layer on top, back to the bottom, in kind of like this. Let's say, I'm just going to resize these for fun so that we can show what I'm talking about. We could go have 1, 2, 3, 4, and just go along in the timeline like this, and just keep adding. Say this is number 1, it's a video about fish. Number 2, this is a video about cheese. This is a video about chicken, because it's not a copy of this one. We're just being fast. And number 4 is a video about angry butt sex, right? So you can do it that way. Doesn't matter how long the time is. You can do it very briefly. This will not naturally turn out this way, right? Sorry. And you'll get ones that are long and ones that are short and ones that are blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? This is how a lot of stuff turns out for me. But if you want to, in the beginning, you can just have it be like track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, track 5. That's fine too. It gets a little hard to see because you have to have 25 tracks now, or however many you need to have. You know what I mean? It gets a little hard to edit, but hard to edit and possible to edit is, you got to just sort of choose. So those are the two ways to edit things. You go along in a timeline, up, down, up, down, up, down, and occasionally if you need a third layer, you just drop another layer in on bottom, behind, right? When you need it to do something. Remember, this is physically behind this one. This is physically behind this. And this is physically above this. So you just make a new one on top or underneath as you need it, right? So if I needed a new video track under there, or whatever. Now, it looks like it only makes it on top in this edition. Speaking of which, select, drag, click and lift, click and lift. So now I've got a couple of layers underneath, or a couple of layers on top that we can work with. This video is going to be sickeningly long, but whatever. Okay, I don't know what the hotkey for this is. I don't think it has one. It should, because it's the selection tool.
Are you sure this is actually going to record the sound?
No, I'm not sure at all, but I'm not doing it twice, so. Right. Control D is the tool you will primarily use, and when I hit Control D, it will stop looking, the cursor will stop looking like this in the timeline and start looking just like a normal cursor. So, alright, getting rid of this and 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 this. Okay. Yeah, fuck it, we'll stop.